Shamaya, you did it.
STL Music.
Is that good? Welcome back to the show. So listen up, we back in the game. Sweet the league, we got the flame. Wanna get it to the fullest every single day. We wake up, get it in every way. Working it two in the global inspiration. Talk this sports and top news, no hesitation. Sweet the league is back. We always coming back, that's a fact. Wanna tell them that STL Music, mama, we did it. Where we at? Coach Jill in the house with the flow so tight. Never rubber rock stats, we unite. Yeah, the best show, Monday through Friday. If this ain't different, they lying. We got the energy. When I say sweep, you say the league. Sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league, sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. Sweep the league. San Antonio, let's go.
Hi, it's Sherilyn, and you're watching Sweep the League TV. Follow me on Instagram at official Sherilyn for more content.
Hey, it's Rain Fernandez, and you're watching Sweep the League. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and Facebook at Rain Fernandez, Rayne Fernandez.
Hey, this is George Iceman Gervin, and you're listening to Sweep the League Radio.
All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Sweep the League. It's Taco Tuesday or Throwdown Tuesday, whatever you want to call it tonight. But we're going to get into a lot of stuff tonight. We've got some NFL games that happened over the weekend, obviously. We'll get into a little bit of that. We're going to talk a little bit of NCAA football. Obviously, we had two passings in the sports world. Yesterday, Dikembe Mutombo as well as Pete Rose. We'll get into that a little bit as well. Spurs Media Day happened yesterday. We'll get into a little bit of Spurs talk. We'll get into some NBA talk. We'll basically cover everything that we can tonight. Give you guys some updates on some WNBA games that are the playoffs that are happening. Also, a little bit of update on the MLB. We just got a full boat tonight. Right now, it's just myself. We'll see if we'll be joined by Coach Gio and Derek Gervin here in just a little bit. But nonetheless, we're going to get into it here tonight. Again, thanks everybody for watching the Mario Ellie show. That was on Friday night. We replayed it again, so we're going to replay that. We replayed it yesterday, I believe, so we're going to replay it again a few times for you guys out there in case you missed it. We have a special guest tomorrow as well. So tomorrow night, we're expecting to have Pete Babcock, who is a former general manager of the Los Angeles Clippers. He's also the former GM of the Denver Nuggets, as well as the Atlanta Hawks. He's going to be joining us tomorrow at 9:30. Pay a little bit of tribute to Dikembe Mutombo. One NBA legend, defensive legend, one of the best defensive centers in the league. So we're going to pay a little tribute video or a little tribute to Dikembe tomorrow with former NBA GM Pete Babcock is going to be joining us tomorrow night at 9:30. So nonetheless, let's get into some of the comments here. See who's here. What's up, Rudy? What's up, Sith? Sith and Brandon do a fantastic job on their wrestling show on Spaces. I believe it's every Tuesday or Wednesday. You got to remind me on that, but I know it's on Spaces on Twitter. So be sure to check them out. What is up, Tim Gonzalez? Tim's in here as well. There. So let's go ahead and bring on Coach Gio here. So, Coach, you know what, Coach? I apologize about yesterday. I forgot to make the announcement that we weren't going to be live. So I owe you big time on that one. I'll send you some more special leave.
Oh, no. I mean, no, it's fine. I mean, I just came on. You weren't on. I figured. I thought maybe you had your bowling.
Yeah. So bowling night is on Monday night and it's on Wednesday. But tomorrow, we're gonna be on tomorrow night at 9:00. We have a special guest coming on, Pete Babcock, who's a former NBA GM for the Los Angeles Clippers, the Denver Nuggets, and the Atlanta Hawks. He's gonna be with us tomorrow night at 9:30. We're gonna do a little tribute to Dikembe Mutombo. He was with Dikembe in Denver. He was with Dikembe in Atlanta as well. So that's going to be fun talking to Pete tomorrow, former NBA GM. And also, if we have time with him, we'll talk to him a little about a little bit of the Spurs, because it's kind of crazy, man. Fans think that you can just make stuff happen, and we'll get a GM's perspective on that, because it's not like you can just snap your fingers and a trade can happen. So we'll get into all that. But man, let's get into a couple of passings that happened. A guy that you and I have been screaming about to make the Hall of Fame, Pete Rose, passed away yesterday, as well as Dikembe Mutombo. Now, we knew Dikembe he had cancer. He had come out, he was talking about he had cancer. Didn't really know how advanced it was. Died at 58 years old, brain cancer. We lost two great legends yesterday, Gio. Definitely felt around the sports world, man. So first off with Dikembe, probably one of the best guys in the NBA, man. Definitely took a loss right there with Dikembe.
Tough news. I did know Dikembe had brain cancer. I knew he wasn't doing the best, but you always hope for the best when you get that type of diagnosis. But Dikembe, one of the great people the NBA has ever seen, a global ambassador, someone who, wherever he went, you kind of knew he was there. Out of all the Georgetown centers, Rudy, he was probably the most colorful of them all, right? I mean, it was sometimes I didn't always understand what he was saying when I was younger, but you knew it was coming from a great place.
Yeah.
And talk about defense. I mean, wasn't the greatest offensive player, but he honed his craft and was a defensive player of the year 4 times in his career, all-star, all that good stuff, and Hall of Famer, and just someone that the NBA is truly going to miss. We've been seeing some ambassadors of the NBA pass away over this past year already. So Dikembe Mutombo, it was a tough one. He would truly be missed. And I'll always remember this, Rudy.
The finger wag. Yeah, you always got to remember the finger wag with Dikembe. We're also joined by Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, a couple of weeks away from being inducted into UTSA's Hall of Fame. Again, made the announcement earlier, Derek. Tomorrow we have Pete Babcock tomorrow, former GM for the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the thing with Pete is that he was with Dikembe, so we're going to talk to him, get Dikembe Mutombo stories, as well as some GM questions, because like I mentioned to Gio, there's just sometimes that Spurs fans and fans in general think that a GM can snap their fingers and make trades happen, and it's just not like that. But more so, we're going to talk to him about Dikembe Mutombo. But Derek, the NBA world lost another great guy. First off, when last week we lost Joe Wolf, who was one of the great guys in the NBA as well. Then we find out Dikembe has passed away. It's kind of a tough way to start the NBA season.
Yeah, it's it's not a lot I'm gonna say today because Mr. Babcock will be on tomorrow. But you talk about one of the better players, people. I'll say people more so than a player. We talk about behavior, and you talking about a guy that was a true humanitarian. We've been fortunate to have a guy that I consider a humanitarian down here in San Antonio by the name of David Robinson. And there's a handful of guys that you just admire, whether they're playing the game or not. They do a lot for the community. We have a lot of guys that do a lot for the community, but these guys go over and beyond. And Dikembe, man, it was sad to me. It actually brought tears to my eyes yesterday. I was just thinking about the way he passed, and 58 years old. And today that's kind of young.
Very.
But if you notice, we hadn't seen him on TV lately. As much as we used to. So it was sad. I'm sending my condolences to his family. But yeah, I have to also mention, I'm glad you mentioned Joe Wolf. It's been a rough week. We look at Pete Rose, 83 years old. Rest in peace, Mr. Rose. We lose the singer, actor, Chris Christopherson. It's just been a rough last 4 or 5 days. But all of them contributed greatly to society. But when you talk about Dikembe Mutombo, you know how much he's done. They even have basketball beyond borders now. And we saw Luol Deng with South Sudan and Royale Ivy and those guys. But Mutombo started it all. So I want to definitely send my condolences to his family, and he will truly be missed.
Yeah, another celebrity that passed away today was John Amos. Good times. I mean, you got to remember him from.
Well, they say his family's saying he passed in August. They're just officially
announcing it.
bringing it out. He passed
Oh,
on
okay.
August the 4th or something like that. But they made it. They finally came out and made it official.
Yeah, it was crazy, man, to see a lot of people dying over these past couple of days, and it's scary world we're living in right now. I mean, I kind of jokingly said it on Twitter, but it kind of kind of made me think like, are we witnessing the rapture right in front of us, man? People just going left and right. Like, I mean, I would have never woke up to see, Pete Rose and Dikembe passing on the same day. I would have never thought that. But another one, Pete Rose, man. I mean, the commissioner at the time when Pete was banned, basically came out and, he basically, just to sum it up, was saying that he tried to reconcile the whole thing with Pete to get him into the Hall of Fame, but apparently Pete was just difficult to work with and, never would admit to certain things. But I mean, when is enough, man? I mean, the guy should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame while he was breathing. There's no doubt about it. The all-time hit king. I mean, one of the greatest players in baseball history. Now, if he goes into the Hall of Fame, it's what post-muscle. I can't say post-muscly. Post-mortem, basically. Yeah. I mean, he's going to go in that way, and that is the absolute travesty of this game. Pete Rose not in, Derek. I mean, that's another one that kind of hit hard.
I'm gonna tell you what bothers me about Pete is that he was banned for gambling, and I understand, but wasn't it as a manager?
Yeah.
So we say it's basically like you're taking away all the things he did as a player. We know he gambled on his own team as a manager, and he finally admitted it. But I'm not going to condone that. But the Hall of Fame is also what you did, mainly what you did on the field.
Yeah.
And just the name Charlie Hustle, man. I mean, come on, the guy is first in the hits. We know he's first in at bats. There's a lot of things. He had a 44-game hitting streak, second longest streak ever behind Joe DiMaggio. And I mean, he did a lot for the game. And when you're known as Charlie Hustle, what other name do you know? I think my brother's name is great, the Iceman. But come on, when you name a guy Charlie Hustle, that means it wasn't even about his talent. It was just about how hard he played. Kind of like people love Russell Westbrook. Yeah. They give it all. They leave it all on the field. They leave it all on the floor. And I have to say, good thing, though, Rudy, he lived a long, good life, 83 years old. So it wasn't the same as, Dikembe being 25 years younger. But no one will ever forget Pete Rose, and I think it's time for him to go in the Hall of Fame. I hate that it's coming post-mortem, like you said, but I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, come on.
100%. Gio.
Yeah, the gambling, obviously, we all know what's happening in today's is gambling every second of the day. There's someone putting in a bet in. Yeah. So it's kind of ironic that baseball it's kind of forgetting that, but also the steroid era as well. Remember, they knew some of these guys was juicing, and they still voted for them to win MVPs and whatnot. Yeah. So baseball needs to progress. We do know a lot of the voters are stuck in the old days. But yeah, Pete Rose, to me, should be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he gambled on baseball. He's been very difficult to deal with. I do know he had that controversy relationship with a minor back in the 70s. Look, all I'm going to say is it was a different time. And at this point, as a player, not a manager, not as a great guy award, right? Barry Bonds is well hated by a lot of people, but that shouldn't matter. Pete Rose, baseball-wise, should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he should be. I mean, based off of his accomplishments on the field, he should be. Now, it is said that he admitted to betting on baseball, but he never admitted to betting on his own team, though. He did say that. He goes, I never bet on a game that I managed or my own team.
Just the fact that he admitted he betted. So I don't care which team he bet on. I don't care if he bet on the Tigers. Hell, he bet. But as a player, I mean, look, Will Chamberlain was a womanizer, right? Talking about the 20,000 women and all that. Jack Johnson wasn't the greatest guy. Alex Rodriguez, Barry Bonds. We can go on and on. There's a lot of guys that they weren't the greatest guy. Draymond Green is not the greatest most behaved guy. But
Yeah.
you can't, you have to go by their merits by what they did on the field. And if you just watch Pete, who doesn't get excited, man? When they watch him run into a home plate with his head down, he's diving in there.
Yeah.
I mean, he just went over and beyond for his team. And if you look at the team he had some great players on that team. But what made him stand out was that he showed up every single night. The man played 96% of his games over the course of his career. And we know what he did as a player. He should be in the Hall of Fame. It's time to bury all that old stuff.
Luckily, the Reds were able to give him a statue, right? He came back there, I think, for All-Star Weekend. I don't know what year it was, but at least he got a statue and he got some other things as well by the Reds. But look, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame, and we've talked about other guys. Barry needs to be in the Hall of Fame. So many others. Whatever you think of Alex Rodriguez, the man should be in the Hall of Fame.
In the Hall of Fame, first ballot.
He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's not a great
is.
guy. He's done this and that. He used the juice, but so did allegedly Big Papi, and he's in the Hall of Fame. So whatever.
It is whatever, man. I mean, Pete needs to be in. I don't care. Pete, Barry, A-Rod. I mean, these guys have all had major accomplishments in the game of baseball. I don't care. You know what? No matter, we said it. No matter if you did juice, you still got to hit the damn ball. But even in Barry's case, they would hardly ever pitch to the guy. So, I mean, even if you're on juice, Barry, who cares? They never pitched you. You were the most walked batter in baseball history. They were scared to pitch.
In court, though, don't they say you have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt?
Exactly.
So them going by saying that they think these guys juiced, is that enough to keep them out of the Hall of Fame?
There's so many guys. Mike Piazza allegedly used steroids. He's in the Hall of Fame. So many of these guys. Jeff Bagwell.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Killer bees. You right?
Pudge Rodriguez, another one who's been alleged. He played in Texas. Some of those guys at the time were using the juice too. So, and you let the guys in. So, are you not going to let him in, Derek? Or you are? If you let some of them, you got to let them all in. It just doesn't make any sense.
It starts with Pete, though. I mean, he's the oldest out of all those guys. And, I mean, it starts with him. And then you filter down to the rest of the guys. But, I mean, hell, man, if you look at Pete, you go down the list of his accomplishments. First in this, first in that, first in this, second in this. The guy did it all. And he was exciting to watch. You see how excited people are to watch Caitlin today?
Yeah.
Weren't they that excited to watch Pete Rose? Who wasn't excited? They talk about Caitlin, Michael Jordan, and these guys. Who didn't want to watch Pete Rose play? And he wasn't the best player on the team. You got Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan and all these guys, Tony Perez.
Yeah.
But who was the guy that kept everything together that you knew was going to give 100% effort every night, no matter how tired they were? And that was Pete Rose.
Yeah, everybody went to go see Pete Rose. And that's another reason why, he may not be in the Hall of Fame, he may not be in the Hall of Fame officially, but everybody who knows sports, you don't just have to know baseball. Everybody that knows sports knows that the guy is a Hall of Famer. I mean, stats don't lie. The all-time hit king, all-time at-bats king. I mean, Derek, you named a lot more accomplishments. There's no reason why he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. So, like I called the NCAA football, committee cowards. I'm calling MLB cowards again because these cowards need to put this guy in the Hall of Fame. Barry will get in eventually, I feel. Once these, old fossils decide. Well, once these old fossils decide to.
Yeah, I'm saying don't wait till the man passes, man. Let these guys. Yeah, that's the only thing bothers me. It's not the same effect. You think it's the same effect for Pete's family?
No,
they wouldn't even let the guy go see his own son play. I mean, come on, man. That's just ridiculous. That's going over and beyond just doing the wrong thing. And they need to rectify that and that man needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He needs to be in by the time we get off this show tonight.
I mean, listen, what's worse, using steroids or gambling? I mean,
right?
The gambling part needs to just go away because, like you said, now I can go to my phone and put a gamble. I can gamble. You have players that are gambling at halftime during an
Players have
actual
gambled
game.
in the NFL. Baseball, I know there are.
Gio, what's the rule now? You're not supposed to do it on the grounds, right? So if you're at the stadium, you're not supposed to gamble. But if you walk right outside the stadium, then you can gamble. Do you guys remember there was a situation like that last season?
Yeah.
A guy got in trouble because he bet while he was on the grounds, but they said if he was outside away from the grounds and bet, then it was okay. I mean, how dumb is that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With technology and everything, I mean, you got Reggie Bush that got his Heisman back because now with NIL and everything, it just rewrote everything.
Well, I want to wish those guys well, their families well, man. I think we lost some great ones, and that includes Joe Wolf. And I know you're a Tar Heel fan. You got it on your hat today. And I was a fan of Joe and that team back then. And I was a fan of Chris Christopherson. I loved him as a performer with Willie Nelson and all these guys, and in the movies. I'm a little older than you guys, but yeah, the guy was sensational. So all those guys deserve their just due.
Yeah, before we head off to our first break here, just again reiterate, we had Pete Rose who passed away at the age of 83, and also NBA legend, Dikembe Mutombo, who went to Georgetown from 88 to 91, drafted in the first round, number 4 pick overall back in 91 by the Denver Nuggets, played for the Hawks, played for the 76ers, Nets, New York Knicks, Houston Rockets, an 8-time NBA All-Star, All-NBA second team, also a 4-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year. His jersey's been retired by both Atlanta and Denver. Very tough day for the NBA. Dikembe Mutombo passed away at the age of 58.
Yeah, this for the family. Loyalty, respect, honor. You know what it is. STL music. Let's get it. We the ones, never folded on ourselves, no bluffing. Legacy we building, man, this ain't up for discussion. They wanted us to quit, but we dug in deep. Motivated to the fullest, dreams ain't meant for sleep. On the grind 24/7, no time for rest. We making moves, calculated like a master chess. Love and respect.
All right, welcome back to Sweep the League. This is Rudy Campos Jr., Coach Gio, Hall of Famer Derek Gervin. Join you tonight. Tomorrow, we will have Pete Babcock, former NBA GM for the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Atlanta Hawks. He was with Dikembe in Denver and Atlanta. So he was actually I guess he was the guy that brought Dikembe over to Atlanta, helped rebuild there, hired Lenny Wilkins at the time. It just was a great fit in Atlanta for Dikembe and Pete Babcock. We're going to have Pete Babcock tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. here on Sweep the League. So we will be live tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Normally we're not live on Wednesdays, but we will be tomorrow. Be sure to tune into that for our remembering of Dikembe Mutombo tomorrow with Pete Babcock. So nonetheless, we had a massive amount of football this weekend. I would like to start in the NCAA, obviously. I mean, Gio probably doesn't want us to start in the NCAA because of one.
I have no problem, Rudy. I mean, these games don't hurt my emotions. I mean, they come, they go, and you go next
games.
Week.
They're not playoff games just yet.
And Gio, your team was the way they lost, though. I mean, they came. We'll talk about it, but I think a lot higher of Georgia than I did a few weeks ago.
I will say I agree with that 100%. You had BYU beating Baylor, Michigan beating Minnesota, and then that Michigan-Minnesota game was really relatively close. I mean, 27-24. I don't know how much we're buying into Michigan right now, but still, I mean, they are the 12th team in the land, so we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Kansas State with a minor upset over Oklahoma State, 42-30. And, Avery Johnson's got to start – he's got to be starting to be talked about somewhere in that top 5, top 6 Heisman race. I mean, he's putting up some really good numbers for Kansas State. Kentucky with the upset over Ole Miss. We kind of saw that coming. Gio has mentioned it a whole lot. You saw them almost upset Georgia.
I saw that team up close. A lot of people were laughing, giggling. Some people on this show probably was too. And I said, listen,
We were laughing at Kentucky?
No, laughing that Georgia beat Kentucky only by 1 point.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And there are a lot of things going into that. But I saw that team. I said, that's a really good defense, a real physical defense.
Yeah.
And what they did to Ole Miss was just a defensive-minded, one of those old-school SEC games. Mark Stoops had the defense, had just enough offense. And Kentucky, Rudy, does Texas play Kentucky?
I don't. I can find out, but
I think they do. Should be an interesting game. Kentucky can't score points, so that's going to be a problem, obviously. But kudos to Mark Stoops and the boys came ready to play, and they hurt Ole Miss, a team. But you know who I blame on this, though, Derek? The scheduling. They didn't play anybody. They've been playing a bunch of cakewalks, and then your first SEC game is against a team that's high on defense. And I was not surprised, though. I saw that Kentucky team up close, and they were a tough team, as you saw Georgia get allowed by 1 point.
Kentucky does come to Texas on November 23rd.
That's a tough game, man. Don't you think, Rudy? Because Texas didn't look great. I mean, they look like they can be beat.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is. They were up 14-6 at half, 21-6 after 3. They really didn't run away with the game. Mississippi State, I mean, one of the lower end SEC teams. I figured Texas would have won by a lot more.
Didn't Mississippi State get blown out by a smaller school just 2 weeks ago already? Was it? I don't think it was Akron. It was another small school that just put the whooping on them. So Mississippi State,
Toledo.
There you go. Toledo went through them. It was a quick game. I mean, it was like Mississippi State didn't show up, but these games, you're going to get the best possible potentially from these lower tier schools. We saw Vanderbilt give Missouri all they could handle. Yeah. Vanderbilt's playing Alabama this week, but I don't really see much going to be happening there. Georgia plays Auburn, so that's going to be a big game. But yeah, a good week of football.
Don't forget, one of my teams went down. The Utes.
Yeah, Utah.
You know, I saw some of that game. What is up with Cam Rising, Derek? It's
up and down,
strange. Man. Well, he didn't play. He's been hurt for a little bit.
Even he played. They seen him.
His attitude. A lot of people are not thrilled about this injury, real injury, fake injury, whatever the case may be. He has and they paid him a lot of money, Derek. A lot of money.
Maybe not as much as he thought he was getting.
But Utah looked disappointed against Arizona, a team that had a tough loss against Kansas State a few weeks ago. Came in and won. Yeah. Boise State, Rudy. I told you about that running back. I think you had Washington State on the upset.
Yeah, Genty. I did have Washington on the upset, but when you run for 259 yards and 4 touchdowns, that's
Rudy.
That's high school level football right there. When you have one of the best running backs in high school, I mean,
is he the front runner for the Heisman right now?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no.
Shador.
No, hell no, not Shador.
You know who's the leader right now is Travis Hunter.
All I'm saying is Rudy did not. He was not buying Colorado. And I'm not going to jinx him, but they're 4-1 right now, Rudy.
Yeah, they're about to head into the tough part of the schedule though on Colorado. So
well, UCF was I think a 10+ favorite in that game.
Yeah, UCF was favored in that game. There's no doubt about that one. I will say that.
Weren't they the number 1 or 2 going into that game? Weren't they number 1 Russian team in the country?
Yeah, they sure were.
Do you guys agree that this is the best that Colorado has looked since Deion has been with that team?
Yes, I will say that Colorado did look really good this weekend. I hate to admit it,
boys, they came into Orlando and they just played very well. I thought they came for business, and that's what we talked about, Derek. Just come prepared and ready to play. Forget about that outside noise and all that extra. Just play the game. Do everything that you're supposed to do. Forget the crowd noise, and they do have somewhat of a path potentially to the college football playoff. If they run the table, they're going to get in.
Their
offensive line was fantastic.
Yeah, they got a bye week this week. Colorado does. But then off the bye week, they come in and they play Kansas State. Now, Kansas State is not an easy team, obviously, number 20th ranked team in the country right now. Then they got to go to Arizona. With that win over Utah, Arizona is already feeling good with their. Then they got Cincinnati, Texas Tech. Now, one of those two games, if not both, should be winnable for Colorado. I mean,
Texas Tech can run the ball really well with their running game, so it's going to be interesting. They do play Kansas, Rudy. I'm sure, but Kansas, man, Rudy, they've been a big disappointment.
They're kind of the what ifs of the Big 12 right now, because you can see a Kansas team that can come in and just dominate, or you can see a Kansas team that's just coming in and struggling. But they end the season with Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State. So that already is a tough schedule. Out of the next 2, 4, 6, 8 games, I mean, there's potentially 5 losses in there, easily 5 losses. So that would put them at 7 wins. Obviously gets them into a bowl game, but I don't know. They would really have to. They would probably have to go 6-2 on that stretch to maybe get into the college football playoffs. I just don't see 6-2 with the remaining games with Colorado. But
what about Colorado, Rudy, with that running game that they displayed? Man, I mean, they look like a different team. The defense stepped up. They were moving guys. The offensive line was dominant. And they had some other guys that showed up. They had a couple other receivers that showed up. If they continue to play like that, don't you think Colorado's a team that can win, that is definitely bowl bound?
If they can, can we be fair about this? If Colorado keeps the ball out of Shador's hands like they kind of did, they're a better team. I think if we can honestly say that, like you mentioned, they pushed around.
Wait a minute.
Listen,
they got the man in the top 2 in the draft right now as a quarterback. If he were to come out,
Mel Kiper does, not me. Mel Kiper does, not me.
You gotta run any running game, Derek would agree, is a best friend to a quarterback. If he could run the ball, limit as much dropbacks as possible, that's going to help Shador tremendously, and that's what they did. If they can continue that, going into the bye, get some more confidence, just worry about what you got to do. Sure, they got some tough games, but I think they're better than what Rudy definitely thought going in. And let's not forget, Rudy, how did your boys lose to Duke being up by 20?
Can we stop with that?
What was that about?
Tim, where you at, Tim?
Well, Tim was here earlier.
Tim's in here.
Hey, wait, quick shout out.
What?
Okay, Tim's right. I did say
you
Duke
did give him 4 wins.
I did 4 wins. They're playing very well. But shout out to Indiana. I was at the game last week.
Yeah.
And beat Maryland. Rough early start for Curtis Rourke through 2 picks. But Indiana was able to just continue to claw, continue to score points, and they're ranked and they're 5-0 for the first time since 1967. That is tremendous history.
7 years, damn.
NCAA committee, I guess, read my tweet when I called them cowards and said rank Indiana. They put them all the way to 23. So they
got an interesting game against Northwestern on the road. That's the type of game where if it's, I don't know, raining, whatever the case may be, but I think Indiana should take care of business. That Indiana-Michigan game, Derek, is just getting interesting by the week. As Indiana keeps winning, they do got to play Nebraska in a few weeks. That's going to be a tough matchup for
Rayola's playing.
Michigan still has a lot of weaknesses. I told you I love my team, but I'm still not. I'm not bought in on them yet. I know they're in the top 12 right now, but I told you last week if they were to play anytime soon, I would have Indiana winning that game, especially if they were playing Indiana. If they're in the big house, I give Michigan a chance, but I don't think Michigan is anywhere near as good as they were last year.
No, definitely not. And the thing with I guess let me ask this before we go into a couple more college football games here. If Indiana's still undefeated going into Michigan and they beat Michigan, how far do they jump on the rankings? I mean, if Michigan is sitting at 12 still after, during that game.
Penn State.
I mean, do they go into the top
Notre
15?
Dame.
I would
Yes.
say so. Obviously, they still have Nebraska, but if they run the table and get to Michigan, I mean, they got to be top 15, I would believe.
Or higher, Gio. A lot of other teams are going backwards.
That's true, right? So this next month or two is going to see a whole lot. Who's going to come up? Penn State's got a tough matchup this week, Rudy. So we're going to see some of these teams and what they're made of. But man, we're in the heart of Big Ten football, and it's going to be a fun next few months just to kind of see. But regardless of what happens with Indiana, they're going to make a bowl game, and that's what the plan was, is to get this program back. Once upon a time, guys, they had Michael Penix was in the building.
Yeah, that's where I first knew Michael Penix.
He was in the building and had a tremendous year. Unfortunately, it was a COVID year. They went 6-2. They beat Penn State and Michigan, lost to Ohio State by just a little. So they had Penix. He had some injury problems and ended up transferring. But Michael Penix was here. He was in the building, and then Indiana hit some tough patches. But now I just hope Kurt Segnay doesn't leave after 1 year, because there's going to be some people calling Kurt Segnay, Rudy.
Whoa.
Maybe you're North Carolina Tar Heels.
Oh, Mac.
Yeah, Mac's done after this year. He's not coming back.
Whatever's left of Mac, because I'm not even sure where he's at right now.
Mac's got to retire, man. There's no way he sticks around till next year. But, I mean, you're talking about probably North Carolina is going to be available. Florida State, Mike Norvell may have just saved his job with DJ being injured, because DJ is just terrible. So we'll see how that goes. But that could be up for a coaching vacancy. Florida, it could be up for a coaching vacancy. I mean, there's
the
teams
loss
out
to
there.
Kentucky, does that hit the nail? Do you see Lane Kiffin definitely going to Florida? Because I'm getting a gut feeling is he's probably going to be going to Florida.
So Lane Kiffin is waiting for that next tier job to open up. Florida State. Someone like that, if that opens up, then yeah, you probably see Lane go one of those directions. But that opens up for Kurt. That opens it up for even possibly a Jeff Traylor. I mean, Jeff going to an Ole Miss team if they lose Lane Kiffin.
Also, Oklahoma's another team, Rudy, where I could see potentially either they get rid of him this year or next year, which is I forgot his name, but I think Oklahoma could be another team where we're saying, you know what, we're not going to waste time. We're getting a new coach.
Could be, but Oklahoma's not doing bad. That's the tough part.
Yeah, but Rudy, there's expectations, and Tennessee was a golden opportunity, and I'm not saying Tennessee's not good, but they had so many chances in that game, and they just blew it.
I'll say that. I can understand that right there. Now, this is kind of an up in the air kind of question, and it's kind of way out of left field, but one job I think could be coming up that could be very lucrative in a way, Michigan State. I think with Jonathan Smith there, I don't know if he's the right guy, but if you can get a name to go to Michigan State, you've got some of these other coaches that are kind of waiting in the wings, waiting in the winds, kind of moving up. Like we mentioned, a Trailer. Some of these coaches that are, not Power 5 guys, they would possibly pay a good amount for some of these younger coaches to come up. And I don't know, that's one job I'm kind of keeping my eye on, because it gets you into the Big Ten. You can bring Michigan State back. There's a lot of stuff that factors in. I don't know. That's just a job that I have circled that could possibly, be, have your eyes on, basically, is what I'm thinking.
Trailer fits there, Rudy.
That's kind of, I'm trying to say it without saying it.
I don't think I think Lane Kiffin is more interested in Florida Gators. But if you're talking about Michigan State, if Trailer, we got, other than beating Houston Christian and those kind of schools, I'm hoping we can kind of resurrect ourselves and finish the season strong. But I don't think that's going to affect Traylor. But yeah, me being a guy from Michigan, I would love to see Traylor up in Michigan State. I think he can really get that program back where they belong.
Yeah. Well, didn't they just a few years ago with Mel Tucker? Didn't they get 10 wins? I mean, they were headed in the right direction, Derek. And obviously, we all know what happened with Mel, and that situation I believe is still ongoing. And they started off rough. But Michigan State is a program that has something there. They obviously have the brand. They're in the Big Ten, right? Sure, they got money with those boosters. So it's going to be interesting if Jeff doesn't wait for any of these other Texas jobs. Because honestly, the way Houston's been playing, that might be a team that might be open.
You must have read my mind. I was going to say that's another interesting school, the Houston Cougars.
They did hire a coach, so I don't know what that's going to look like. But Jeff's going to have his pickings for sure. I mean, there's going to be other jobs available as well. I'm not saying Auburn's going to be up, but Hugh Freed's
there's big time jobs coming up, man. There's a lot of big time jobs.
I thought Auburn was going to win, and then out of nowhere, Oklahoma comes in and ends up winning it late at the end. It's, but
and you got to remember, is it Kine? Is it Keen? Kine from Texas State is another guy that you kind of got to watch out for when it comes to coaching. I mean, there's a lot of coaches in lower end schools
Memphis coach. I mean,
Memphis is coach as well. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of guys waiting in the wings that are ready to just come up. So I don't know, man. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I guess before we transition to NFL, let me take Indiana. As hot as they are right now at 5-0, is this the last we see of their coach? I mean, if he has a big time season, he's getting those phone calls at the end of the year. They're not going to let him go without that.
Kurt Cignetti's interesting. He's been at smaller programs. He was also on the staff with Nick Saban at Alabama for a bit, so he's been in that kind of SEC mold. It'll be interesting to see if he leaves. I hope he doesn't leave.
Michigan State. That's what I'm saying.
He reminds me of more of a builder type. He was at James Madison, turned that program around. He's been at smaller programs. I don't know if Kurt's that type of that wants to go to a bigger school, but best believe it is he's going to get calls, Derek. His phone will be ringing off.
It's already
what would happen if, say, LSU were to fall off as the season goes on?
Yeah,
don't you think some guys would be interested in that LSU? That's a job that everybody's usually interested in. I know that I like Mr. Kelly, man, but I still can't get over the hiccups at Notre Dame, and then even early in this season. But that would be a job that seems like a lot of people would be interested in. Who doesn't want to go to LSU?
Really hoping that Kurt doesn't leave just after 1 year, because I think it would set the program back a bit. But they have the money, they have the stadium, they got the stuff there. It's kind of a sleeping giant there, Rudy. I mean, we all know it's a basketball town, though.
Yeah,
their basketball hasn't been that good either lately. So I would hate to see him go, but for a 1 year, if they win 7-8 games, I mean, that would be a huge success.
Orgeron didn't think he was going to either.
Ed, listen, Ed got lucky. He got real lucky with Mr. One Joe Pearl.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, the thing, too, is like I'm saying, there's so many top schools that are going to need coaches at the end of the year.
Hey, how about Pete Carroll? Hey,
Pete
Carroll. I mean, how about just Pete get back into it? I mean, I could definitely see.
Didn't he say he wanted to coach again?
Yeah, he did.
I could see him. He's more of to me, as great as he was in the NFL, to me, he's still more of a college coach. Right? He has that kind of young spirit in him. And with a program that's maybe on the cusp there, maybe 2 or 3 years for Pete, I wouldn't see why not. He looks good. I think I saw a picture of him the other day. I mean, I know he's itching to get back. I don't think NFL's for him, though college obviously has changed since the last time he's been there. But I would love to see Pete and maybe Jeff Fisher, Rudy.
Hey, well, I don't know about
Oh,
Jeff
boy.
Fisher, dude. Give me a break.
Oh.
Almost.
Hey, Gio,
Yeah.
Rudy, before we move to the NFL, one question for both of you guys.
What's up?
If they were to suit up Saturday, Texas versus Alabama, who's the best team right now?
Oh, you had to put that on me.
From what I saw last week and what I've seen Texas not with their quarterback, he's been hurt, he's been out, whatever the case may be. I'm gonna give the slight edge to Alabama, though. Alabama's defense, it was a weird game at Georgia. It was just it was Alabama came out, Derek, just swinging haymakers. Carson Beck, for the first time, I think in his career, looked pretty much deer in headlights. Right, he was throwing at guys, interceptions. He showed me something in that second half that I think Georgia could take throughout this season, and they still got big games left. Like this one loss, Rudy, Georgia can go throughout the entire year and win a championship, and we're all going to forget about this Alabama loss. So, but no, right now I'm going to give the edge to Alabama and what they did, just a slight edge over Texas.
You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to say Texas with a slight edge, only because I think Bama has played the best game, so far between both teams. And they played Georgia. They beat Georgia, but I got to see what Texas does still. I give Texas a slight edge because I think the quarterback play, it always seems to get Bama. For whatever reason, Texas seems to have Bama's number when their quarterback doesn't get injured.
Would you say those are the two most physical teams, though, from what we've seen so far?
Hands down, yeah. I would say, yeah. Both teams are probably the two best, two-way teams, but both offense and defense. Like they're both built on both sides of the ball to dominate.
Yeah, Georgia's defense is not as good. Right? I feel like when you look at even the Alabama game, how well Alabama was getting to the edges. Georgia having a tough time just getting off blocks. And you could see in recruiting, Georgia, listen, they're still good. They're still good up front. They're still going to dominate at times. But the problem is, guys, people keep graduating early, Derek. People keep leaving, right?
Right.
So you got to keep reloading. And you got all these young guys. But yeah, no, right now I'm going to give the slight edge to Alabama, but Georgia, they showed me something in that second half.
The second half, they showed that they're still a top 3, top 4 team, and they might not lose another game. That might have been what the wake-up call that they needed to shore up some of their weaknesses, because Alabama was just throwing them around in the first half. And if Carson plays a little better, Georgia wins that game.
Well, also Kirby playing them playing man defense, that was just the way that game was going. Just play zone, just play cover 4, everybody back, because all Alabama was doing at the end there was just throwing it deep. You know what I'm saying? Just throwing it deep, mano a mano. But who's Alabama? But if Georgia would have won that game, it would have been probably one of the more remarkable comebacks. Because at one point, Reed, I think it was 31-7, or it's just some ridiculous
blowout, 28-0. Wasn't it 28-0?
Yeah, 28-0 at one point. And everybody was texting me, calling me, said, "Listen, I don't play at Georgia now. I'm not the ambassador, the Rambassador." Which, by the way, the Rams, you're pissing me off. That's another team that's really pissing me off.
They're injury-riddled team, dude. What do you expect?
I'm glad I didn't make the trip to Chicago, because those fans would have been annoying and screaming in my ear. So
you would have probably got into a fight and been on.
Probably would have got into a fight. So I'm glad that I make that 4-hour trip.
Hey, did y'all see the guy get jumped at the Falcons game? Was it the Cardinals? The Cardinals game.
No.
The guy got jumped on by 5. Oh man, they got to do better. There was one guy. They all had on Cardinal jerseys, all 6 people, and there's one guy fighting 5, Rudy. And those 5, I mean, they were swinging on that head, man. 5 against 1, and they all had on, and they all supporting the same team. So, Gio, I guess I'm glad you didn't go.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
Rudy, what happened to your Jets pick, man? I
still say they're gonna be 4-2 after 6 games.
Yeah,
Aaron just needs to close his mouth. Aaron looked like he's trying to get the fire. The coach fired already. I don't like that. How you pronounce his name? Saleh? How do you pronounce his name?
Robert Saleh.
Saleh.
Yeah.
It looks like Aaron's already. Doesn't like the guy. You can tell already. And when he pushed him, even though he acted like it was no big deal, I thought that right there set the tone for what the rest of the season is going to be. And Aaron's looking over like a diva again, sitting over there on the bench, look like he wants to be by himself. And I still say they're going to be 4-2, but they got a lot of things they have to fix.
He wants Bill Belichick.
It was a weird game. Denver's defense, maybe we underestimated them in the pick 'em, but they have a good front.
Gio, you talking about a Hall of Famer that we were comparing to Tom Brady, right? Tell me how they lose, how Aaron Rodgers quarterbacks a team, and they lose to a guy who throws for 60 yards.
Yeah. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is running for his life. He was running for his life. But I think the one thing that saved Bo Nix, Rudy, was his legs.
Yeah.
I think that was the difference in the game. Obviously, Aaron looks like he's 50 sometimes playing out there. But the ability to run with your legs, I thought that was essentially the difference because Bo can get out and run, and Aaron didn't. So
not bad for an old man, right, Gio? Not bad for an old rookie.
It's good.
He played 7 years. I mean, he should be.
He gets those timely first downs though.
Yeah.
When you think you got the offense shut down, and then if he can run and get that, he moves the chains, man. He's not the greatest quarterback as far as putting the ball in the end zone, but he does get those timely first downs. And sometimes that's what it comes down to is keeping the other team off the field.
Yeah, Bo Nix throws for 60 yards. Cortland Sutton 3 receptions for 60 yards. Only one receiver. That's amazing. That's an amazing stat here. Let's get into some NFL coverage here before we end the night here on Sweep the League. Again, tomorrow we're going to have former GM, NBA GM Pete Babcock's going to be joining us. We're going to talk to Kemi Mutombo. We have time permitting. We're going to also talk some NBA GM questions for him because we have a lot of guys that are always like, oh, you can make this trade. This trade's easy. Why do they do this? There's a lot behind it that people don't understand. That's why I don't buy all this fan BS that you hear all the time. But NFL-wise, man, just going over some scores, you saw the Bengals finally get on the win column, beating the Panthers. It was kind of a tough game still for the Bengals, but they did get the win. Lions came through tonight over the Seahawks. You saw the Titans beat up on the Dolphins. I had so many people text me, "How are the Dolphins losing to the Titans? They don't have a quarterback, man. Like, come on."
Those are people who don't watch the game, Rudy. Clearly, Hudley couldn't run that. I mean, but honestly, why didn't they just go with their other backup who's been there? I don't. Was Hudley the best option?
Well, here's the problem. A week ago, I said, Trevor Lawrence, make a deal. Miami needs to be on the phone with Jacksonville. Hey, what do we have to get for Lawrence?
Hell, they can bring Ryan Fitzpatrick back and do better.
Bring somebody.
Why didn't they try to trade for Carson Wentz? I thought Carson played well with the Rams at the end there for those last few games. Go get Carson Wentz, who can move. He can make throws. Now, it's possible the Chiefs, I think it was the Chiefs, said no, but it's like, why? Like, why are you putting this guy out there? And the thing about McDaniel's offense is it's very gimmicky, Rudy. It's a very kind of college, it looks like at times, and it was just a flat-out disaster. Jeez, that was a terrible game to watch.
Well, you mentioned.
Did you guys see Tyreek with the I guess he went off on one of the assistant coaches, one of the coaches.
If I'm the Chiefs, I'm calling Miami, Derek. I'm calling them.
Well, you want Tyreek back. You need Tyreek.
He looks unhappy already. But what did he really expect? Because he was talking a lot of trash before the game. So what did he really expect without Tua? And did you see Tua over there acting like he was Tom Brady or Dan Marino while he was watching the action? Like, only if they had me in there. Man, so that's a funny team, man. I don't know. And then the coach looks like after he got paid, I won't say what the coach looks like, but he looks different. I'll just say that.
He's been sipping a lot of those drinks on Miami Beach, Derek. That's what he looks like.
A little bit more than just drinks.
He looks.
He's the drug lord. I heard someone say that.
He looked real calm over there. And that city will do that to you. But no, I think they just kind of get a quarterback, and it sounds like Tua will be back eventually. So
Why would you want him back? I mean, the guy. Okay, the guy cannot slide properly. He goes head first, and when he's rushing,
But they
the guy
score,
doesn't know how
Rudy,
to
when he
take a.
plays.
They score, but at what point do you say, bro? I don't want you to,
wait, but if
risk
they're
your
telling
life.
him that, and he says no, I still want to play, Rudy, what are you going to do as a coach? So okay, he still wants
They're
to
gonna play him. They don't,
Yeah.
man. Look, they don't. Rudy, the object is to win. Who gives you the best opportunity to win? I'm gonna be honest, and I don't mean to sound harsh or cold about it. If he had 2 more concussions and he was cleared to play, and he's their best option, they want you to play. They want you on the field. And I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. It's a business, and he gives them the best opportunity to win.
And I guess that's my own. I guess my own thought process is, if I'm the GM, I'm probably telling Tua, I know we can win with you, but I'm not at the risk of your life, man.
Is Penix available, Rudy?
No, not right now. Definitely not. I was totally against them drafting him, but after seeing Kirk,
What did they give Kirk though? Didn't they give Kirk a 4-year, $140 million deal?
Yeah, the guy's making like 40
and
million.
most like 50 million signing bonus.
Yeah,
that sounds like a guy they want to have to be the quarterback for a nice little period of time.
They do, and I'm opposed to Penix being drafted at that position, in that early of the first round. But now looking at it, I'm like, okay, it makes sense to keep Penix. Now, here's the other part: if Atlanta isn't doing good, say 7-8 games in the year, and they're second to last, they're at 3-5, maybe whatever. I'm just saying, if it happens, 3-5, maybe 3-6 after 9. Do you play Penix? I mean, I would say probably see what you have. Honestly, it's not so much Kurt's thing. I'm going to say it again. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. And if I piss off Falcon fans, I'm sorry. I'm a Falcon fan, but I speak from the heart. Bijan Robinson's not that guy. He's never going to be that guy. Just what you saw at Texas was college. In the NFL, Bijan Robinson is not that guy. He's barely ran for 1,000 yards, I think, in his fourth full season. Yeah. I mean, the guy only had like 300 yards, I think, total for the NFL in the rushing this year. I mean, he's not going to get you 100 yards rushing. He's going to get you receiving, but even in the receiving column, it's not significant.
He's a good player, but you talking about not that guy. So I don't want to change from the Atlanta, but I have to. Not that guy. Is Justin Fields that guy, and is Will Levis that guy?
No and no. I think Justin gets it done, but he's not that guy. Will Levis, that's tough.
Will lost his job, concussion or whatever.
They kept making fun of his faces he was making. On weird. Will Levis, Rudy, it kind of is something off with him, and I'm not saying he's using any type of drugs,
mayo in the coffee. Remember that whole thing?
It looks like he's taking way too much coffee because he's doing very sporadic, just like.
Gio, you can't do that on camera, man. When you,
I'm sorry though. It's something. I'm gonna leave it alone. But it's just something's a little bit off with him, and he's just making really bad decisions at quarterback. At some point, Rudy, you got to say, listen, you should have kept Malik. Just for just for competition. They don't have a quarterback right now either. So
Is that why? But looking at him now, is that why he was left in the draft room at the end of the first day when he swore he was going to be like maybe the first quarterback pick, and then he sat there the whole first round? Is that why? Because we look at him right now. Does he even look like he's really even a backup?
Not right now. I think they're forced to play him because I mean he's really their
He
only
looks
option.
like it would be a toss up between him and Bryce Young.
Yeah, I think
not good.
he's better than Bryce Young. I'll say that. Bryce is just in the wrong. He's in the wrong team right now.
Wait. So you say he's better than Bryce Young? Okay.
I think
Daniel
so.
Jones makes Daniel Jones looks like Tom Brady. Compared to Will
Daniel
Levis.
Jones plays better than Will
Hey, we get a positive Daniel Jones comment on the show. I love that.
He looks like Brady-esque compared to Will Levis.
I'll say this much. You know, with Will Levis, he's the only option out there. So, I mean, better than Bryce Young, probably the second worst quarterback in the NFL. I mean, to be honest,
Wait, do you mean out of all quarterbacks or just starters?
I think out of all starters, not all quarterbacks. I mean, you saw Joe Flacco come in for another injured Anthony Richardson. It's almost like the football gods are trying to tell the coaching staff, Anthony Richardson is not that guy.
He's not the guy, man.
I think he just got to stay healthy.
You think so? You give him
never.
You think if he's healthy, I just don't see it, man.
I saw him up close last year with the Rams play the Colts. I said he can play. He can throw. He can make throws. It's just unfortunately he's hurt, so the rhythm breaks, and it's just never the same.
I'll take Andrew Luck back, man.
I think everybody would take.
Anybody seen Ryan Leaf?
So
I'll say, didn't Ryan Leaf get fired from?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I'm just saying. I like 2 years ago, Gio. I would have been with you on the Anthony Richardson, but even when he's been healthy, I just don't see it.
No, I know he has to produce, and he just has it.
I'll say that with Anthony Richardson, and again, it's super early in his career to call him, a bust or anything like that. I still think he can get. I mean, hell, look at Sam Darnold.
A bust?
Well, no, I'm saying you look at Sam Darnold. I mean, Darnold was a bust
you
forever.
Caleb Williams a bust? He's only a rookie.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Richardson's in his second year, so I mean, like I said, it's way too early. But I get Quincy Carter vibes from Anthony Richardson.
That's not good.
Athletic, can make a good throw, can look decent, but it's just more of like a show. I think is what I think with Anthony.
I'll say this though, if he doesn't have a good year, obviously he gets hurt again.
If he's healthy, Gio, is he better than if he's healthy? Is he better than Geno Smith?
No.
I would put Geno Smith ahead of Anthony Richardson.
Geno's actually he's an actual NFL quarterback.
Yeah, Geno, but they're not giving Geno the shine that he deserves.
I thought he played well.
Him. Say that again, Gio. I'm sorry.
I thought he played well against a tough defense in Detroit.
Geno played well.
Yeah, he played well. He that's a tough defense, and it's loud over there. It's a real loud arena. I thought he played well. The defense could have played better, but Detroit, when they're humming on offense, it's a tough offense to defend. So
why doesn't Miami contact a former Dolphin in Ryan Tannehill?
Brady, why do you keep bringing up Ryan Tannehill every week?
Well, he's at home I'm doing more than Ryan Tannehill right now.
That's for a reason.
I mean, you need a quarterback.
I will say, I guess call Ryan.
Miami.
It's Miami. I mean, you've got a pissed off Tyreek Hill. You have a pissed off Jalen Waddle. I mean, these guys are going to give up on you in the next game probably if you don't do something. You may as well just see what sticks. If it's not Ryan Tannehill, call the damn Cowboy. You mentioned it. McDaniel's system is more collegiate than anything. So go get Trey Lance. The guy was good in college. I mean, if you can make him, just a little bit of a help, you got to do something. He's got to be better than what you have right now. Ryan can be better what they have right now. I mean, I just don't understand why. I mean, you see guys like, who? Hell, I mean, go to ask Cleveland what the hell they want for, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Just get somebody in there that can play the position better than what you have right now. But I don't know. I mean, Tannehill is probably the number one guy on my list if you're going to call somebody.
What about Deshaun? I bet you Deshaun's
The
up
thing,
for
the thing with
anybody.
Deshaun,
If a team called for Deshaun Watson, I don't think it'll take long for Cleveland to say, "Let's figure out a way to make it work."
I think Deshaun could be on the move, but I don't know if anybody wants to pay all that
Dude, he
guarantee.
might be on the move out the league soon if he doesn't show a little more than he's shown lately.
It's going to be a
2
lot of
years
money.
ago, 2 years ago, it's been a long time. Has it been 2 years or 3 now when he was looking like an all-star type player, all pro?
Like 3 years, I think.
Yeah, so at some
Deshaun's
point,
terrible.
he's on his way out the league, man. Yeah, I'm with you, Gio. It doesn't look good.
He can't. He's so disappointing. It's so hard to watch. Too. It's terrible.
One last NFL tidbit before we end the show here. Jaden Daniels, as hyped as he's doing, as great as he's doing, probably the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year right now, going into week 4 or 5. I would say this about Jaden Daniels: great system. Dan Quinn always has the OC next to him to make his teams better. But I mentioned to Derek on the phone the other day, and I mentioned to a couple of people. They're like, "Oh my God, this guy!" I'm seeing young Jalen Hurts. I'm saying that. I'm saying, hold up. And Derek didn't say that, but other people I talked to did. I told Derek, and this is what I'm saying. He gives me the Cam Newton vibes. I want to know if he can, be better than Cam Newton. But right now, I get Cam Newton vibes out of Jaden Daniels.
Cam Newton won an MVP. He got
That's what I'm saying.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
I get the Cam Newton vibes, but I want to see if he progresses more than what Cam did, because all of a sudden Cam just took a nosedive and was just basically done.
Well, he had injuries, and look, he got older, and that happens, and you lose your certain abilities. And he went to New England, didn't work out, but so far that kid Daniels, shout out to Cliff Kingsbury. He's doing a really good job on the offense. We talked about Cliff before the season. I thought that's the right type of guy. What do I always say, Rudy? You got to pair your quarterbacks
with the right
OC. With the right OC, or your head coach needs to be an offensive-minded coach.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the Bears and you see their head coach as a defensive guy,
yeah.
And then he hired an offensive coordinator apparently who was terrible in Seattle. So, go figure.
You can't say that, because he worked with Russell Wilson. He worked with Geno. You saw both of those guys succeed. So it's kind of unfair to say that he was bad in Seattle.
I think Shane came at the beginning of Geno, if I'm not mistaken. And sure, it worked with Geno. But a lot of Seahawks fans that I've talked to, that he was terrible. So I'm going to leave it at that from a fan's perspective, which obviously could be one-sided. But Rudy, I don't know. It's just, you got to get a boy wonder offensive guy in there. And
yeah, I get that. And Derek, I wanted to ask you this because I started doing a little bit more video, and the more video and more film I watched, I thought, man, the ceiling for this kid is way better than Cam Newton. I don't know if this guy's better than Cam Newton, but I started to see a lot more Randall Cunningham in him. The ability to get away, to run, to get the ball downfield, the one pass to McLaurin last week was like, to me, that had Cunningham vibes.
To limit the hits already, because we see with these type of quarterbacks, you have to limit, you have to learn how to not get hit, right? And I think Lamar, for the most part, does a pretty good job at that. But we see other quarterbacks who Robert Griffin just didn't learn. Right, and
what's another name? Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of these guys who've come in and they just don't get it. You cannot, obviously, if he gets sacked in the pocket, that's a different story. But you got to learn these things, and if he learns, look, Cam's rookie season, go look at the stats, guys. It was remarkable. I mean, his first 3 or 4 games, he had over 300 or 400 yards passing. I mean, it was just ridiculous numbers. So if he's just as good or the same level as Cam,
Cam lost his focus though, Gio. Don't you think Cam was doing well And then he started getting into the other parts of
he had a fight.
The NFL, the way he dresses, all of that stuff became important to him. It kind of reminded me of when we talked about Colorado, just playing the game. And Cam looked like he got kind of distracted. You get a commercial or two, and it just didn't look like he had the same focus. And that's why I think teams have overlooked him the last few years. His mind was elsewhere. It wasn't on football like it was at the beginning of his career.
Yeah,
well,
I think so.
Also, Derek, Cam also got into a fight with some kids. It was just kind of
last year, yeah.
And then he had the issue with the reporter because she was talking about a football play and he was laughing. I think that was Jordan Rodriguez.
That really hurt him too, Gio.
Yeah. That was a tough thing. I think it was Jordan Rodriguez, who now covers the Rams in LA. I think he lost sponsorships. I think that because he had the Orko's Greek yogurt, and I believe he lost it. If I'm not mistaken, it went to Dak. But Daniel's been phenomenal. He's putting that team on his back. And what they did to the Cardinals, a Cardinals team who, wasn't great. But from week to week, things change, Rudy. We saw what the Ravens did to the Bills. It literally ran them out of the field.
Yeah.
Did any of us pick the Cardinals to lose that game? Because I know I picked the Cardinals to win that game. I think I'm not alone.
I have it right here. Let's see. Cardinals.
I think we all three picked the Cardinals, didn't we?
I did.
Yeah. Cardinals. Yeah, Cardinals.
42-14. I saw that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now. We all took the Cardinals. So crazy. Yeah. Nobody would expect it for Commanders to come in.
And I said, I'm the one that said, I don't know, man. I'm not a big fan of Kyler, and I picked him anyway.
He's probably been playing too many video games last week.
Say that again?
He was probably playing a lot of video games last week.
Yeah,
Call of Duty. So, he didn't look great. I mean, we saw Tampa Bay beat up on Tampa always beats the Eagles for whatever reason. Just ridiculous what happened.
Hey, Gio, quick question before we get off the air for you and Rudy.
What's up?
We talk about all these quarterbacks, and a lot of them, the higher paid, the upper echelon, I'll say, guys like Jalen Hurts. Have you guys noticed how terrible he throws the ball? And Shadour's the same way. When they get out of the pocket and you get them on the run going to the right, they're terrible. And you get them going to the left, that's the way they prefer to throw the ball. Have you guys noticed that about the two of those guys? We know Shador, what he did against Baylor at the end. It was going left, remember?
Yeah.
Rolling out the pocket. But going right, he throws the ball 10 or 15 yards over the guys' heads, and Jalen Hurts is the same way.
It's interesting. I watched some of that game, and I do see that, Derek. He's been very inconsistent. If they don't make the playoffs, if they just continue to spiral, it's possible Nick Sirianni gets fired. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I would not be surprised. This is a organization who fired Doug Peterson just 2 years after the Super Bowl. So this is a team that is not shy of getting the right guy in there. So something off with this team. It's just 1 week they're good.
How do you go from as dominant as they were when they were 10-1? Everybody was like, "Oh man, this is one of the best teams we've seen in quite a while." How do you go from that until what they end up doing the last part of the year, and then how they look this year? They look like a pedestrian team in the last 8-9 games. They look nothing like a Super Bowl team. How does that happen that quickly?
I have no idea, Derek. It's just after that stretch of games, they've been a disaster.
From 10-1 to what they look like now.
And they lose to the Bucs again. I don't know where. And I thought Saquon played well at the end there in that second half. They got him going. But without Brown, did Smith play last week?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. Okay, so Brown's been out, and I don't know if Brown just seems to be more important than what he is, and maybe he's going to ask for more money because clearly he sees, hey, they can't win without me.
Jalen Hurts' agent. Remember that young female that Jalen Hurts has representing him?
Oh yeah.
She was a genius, man. Because he does that contract she got him. She was a genius, and he better be taking her to dinner every day.
He could do the hell of that tush push. I mean, that tush push play works.
That's the best thing he does right now. That's the best play they've gotten. The tush push.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, I wonder if Saquon's wondering, I'm only a game better in Philadelphia than I was in New York.
And Rudy, he's upset, especially after seeing how Derrick Henry's played the last few weeks.
True, but it goes also back to the fact of what we talked about at the beginning with the Eagles, about the ego for the Eagles. I mean, you're kind of seeing that with A.J. Brown not playing. I mean, the injury, yeah, it's there, but, you know, kind of like what Gio is saying, Eagles are going to take advantage of this team. You have Devontae Smith, you've got A.J. Brown, you've got Saquon. The only real dominant guy on the team has been Saquon Barkley. When does it come? When all of them are healthy, are they going to be able to click?
Who was the smart man? Jason Kelsey.
Well, yeah, Kelsey decided to retire.
He saw something that we didn't see. Because I think if they were a Super Bowl type team, I think he would have stayed. He saw something that we didn't see.
Well, I mean, if y'all saw, did any of you see the doc on Amazon?
I have not. Yeah.
So towards his last few years, he said some games he could barely walk. I mean, it took a lot for him to play. And that Bucs game, that defense really beat up that offensive line. And you could just tell he's probably thinking to himself, man, I'm done with this crap.
How many commercials they're doing? They're taking around him and his brother on a new commercial.
They got commercials. They have a new podcast deal. They have a cereal that's out. He's working on ESPN. You don't need to worry about getting beat up every Sunday.
You didn't see the cereal commercial?
I haven't seen cereal.
Yeah, they doing it all. Him and that other one, Travis, who's not looking too happy. Have y'all noticed we've been haven't been hearing as much Travis and Taylor talk?
Yeah, we haven't. We haven't heard of anything about.
There's a rumor out there now that the what's the lady he dated before Taylor? There's been a rumbling that she was at one of the Chiefs games recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Already causing the issues behind the scenes.
Speaking of the Chiefs, they need a receiver. I suspect.
Yeah, it wasn't a hurt for him. He's going to be out for a while. What's his name? Reese? Or what is his name?
Yeah, Rice. Rice.
Yeah, Rice.
He's out for the whole year. So
the rest of the season.
Now it'd probably be weird if Chiefs call the Raiders up, but I don't know if
not weird. It's going to happen.
Well, will the Chiefs trade him to an in-house rival in the Raiders? I don't know if the Raiders would do that. Though the Rams need some sort of receiver. Maybe Les Snead will call the Raiders, though. I think a second-round pick might do it. So
you think so? Well,
and Amari Cooper's on the market too. He's been real frustrated.
Well, Devontae's in the market. Amari Cooper's in the market.
Yeah, Devontae gonna get traded again.
Yeah. Also, reportedly, both Jalen and Tyreek they're taking phone calls. Put it that way.
For
on those guys as well. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. Those are two.
You know
more
why
guys.
they're doing it for Tyreek though? Locker room. That's the locker room stuff there.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. So there's receivers that are gonna be on the market.
If they can get Tyreek back, that would definitely change. Because what they have right now, Worthy's really good, but Juju and Moore and all these just Jags is just another guy I like to call him. I don't think they can make another run like that. Plus, they already lost their running back, right? Kareem Hunt filled in pretty well. Yeah. They need a star, and why not bring Tyreek back?
Hey, Gio, I'm glad you said that. Rudy, not tomorrow because we have Pete Babcock, but soon. Can we talk about that issue about Kareem Hunt coming back? Because you know who I thought about right away when they announced. I know it's been like 6 years or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But I thought about Ray Rice immediately.
Yeah.
So at some point, I hope we can get into that, man, because it's been kind of flying under the radar about Kareem Hunt coming back.
Well, the Ray Rice one probably
the video
was the video, but yeah, I know it's.
But Kareem Hunt had the same video.
Hunt was on video.
Also, Tyreek Hill has had some issues too.
Oh God,
female.
Yeah, female, and doing a bunch of other things too.
More than one, yes.
Doesn't he have an entire football team of kids?
Something like that.
I know he's got a bunch of kids, man. I mean, he's no Phillip Rivers who had like 12.
But Phil's married though. I mean, he's got like 10 now, but yeah,
he's got 11.
Hey, the Dolphins,
the football team.
The Dolphins should call up Phillip Rivers.
I'm not opposed to it. Phillip Rivers is another guy. I mean, he can sling it down the field.
I think if Phillip was to come back, he would have probably come back. I think he's coaching, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember.
Who knows, man?
I know Alex Smith is saying, hell, don't forget me. No, he's done. But guys like him, and then I keep watching Fitzpatrick. They couldn't be any worse than some of these guys that they put.
Hey, Fitz could come in and play.
Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, he can come in and play right now.
Come in. I know about that for sure. Hey, we're gonna end the show right now. We got Pete Babcock coming in tomorrow at 9:30. So to start the show, we're gonna talk a little bit about NBA. We didn't get to it tonight. Today was it yesterday? Yesterday was NBA Media Day. The San Antonio Spurs had their media day. We'll get into a little bit of talk about that. Maybe talk a little bit about the NBA as well. We'll get into some WNBA playoff talk as well tomorrow. Then we've got Pete Babcock at 9:30. So I also had a rant, but I'm going to wait for tomorrow. Just know that Blue Bonnet Ford in New Braunfels, they can kiss my A big time. I'll explain that tomorrow more than anything. So
for the car?
The dealership. You won't believe what they told me. So yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to them with the middle finger tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. So for Coach Gio, Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, Rudy Campos Jr., Pete Babcock tomorrow at 9:30. We'll get into some NBA talk. Also Thursday, we'll do our NFL, NCAA previews. Then we'll get into Friday with our picks. So for Coach Gio, for Hall of Famer Derek Gervin, Rudy Campos Jr., till we sweep the league again tomorrow. We'll see you later, Knuckleheads.
Everybody have a good night.
Yeah, this for the family. Loyalty, respect, honor. You know what it is. STL music. Let's get it. We the ones, never folded on ourselves, no bluffing. Legacy we building, man, this ain't up for discussion. They wanted us to quit, but we dug in deep. Motivated to the fullest, dreams ain't meant for sleep. On the grind 24/7, no time for rest. We making moves, calculated like a master.